So I was on the 85th floor of the North Tower, which was the first tower to be hit that day, and luckily for me and thousands of others, the second to go down. I have given a story like this almost every year since the incident, because number one, it's very therapeutic for me. It gets it off my chest, but at the same time, it's also very informative. People like to hear what I have to say, what we went through, what I saw, what I felt, what I smelled, what it was like from a first-person perspective, right? Because 99.9% of the population was from the outside. You got to see it from the outside. So, if nothing else, allow me to show you and tell you what I experienced from the inside. On September 11th, I woke up, got myself up after taking my wife the previous night to the airport. She flew into London the previous night and was on the ground about 5 hours. I made my way down to the World Trade Center complex, and if you recall, there was a Galleria like underground, underneath the World Trade Center. Had everything, Gap stores, Banana Republic, delis, whatever, Sunglass Hut. So I made my way to that complex, and as I did, I made a little deposit here at the Chase ATM. You're going to see this slide quite a bit. This is a slide that shows an overview of the footprints of all the buildings. So like right here is 2 World Trade Center Tower, also known as South Tower. Here is 1 World Trade Center Tower, also known as the North Tower. And around 8:15 or so that morning, after dropping off and doing my ATM, I made my way to my office, which would have looked something like this. And it was Tuesday morning after Monday Night Football. We were completing our normal daily chores, getting ready for trading that day. You see, I worked for SMW Trading Company. SMW is a commodity trading firm, or was a commodity trading firm. And at the time, I was an assistant trader. I prepared literally sheets of paper, massive sheets of paper. We were killing logs, taking them down. And my normal daily activity was go from the 85th floor, exit the building, go across the West Side Highway to, as my mom said, the World Financial Center where the New York Mercantile Exchange was located, in a totally different building on the water, right? And so I was pretty much done with my normal daily chores when at 8:46 a.m., as I'm sitting at my desk, just like you are, with my back to the windows, my back is to the north, I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, this horrific explosion occurs. Like I'm thrown from my seat onto my knees. And as I struggle to stand up, I realize that this behemoth, this 110-story building, right, that took up an acre footprint, right? So an acre footprint, 70 yards wide by 70 yards long, was lurching with sickening vengeance. In fact, I almost felt like we were going to go over. In fact, it was one of 2 times that day that I felt like I was actually going to die. We were moving so much. It was like I was on a roller coaster at the top and we were about to go over. And this motion back and forth lasted for probably just 10 seconds, but it seemed like an eternity. And then when it stopped moving, what you saw was a couple of ceiling tiles that had fallen. You see, when the explosion occurred, I remember as I was thrown to my knees, this ghostly column of air shot into the office. And then as quickly as it shot in, it shot out and it whipped up a couple of pieces of paper like we were in a movie. Papers that flipped up and settled back to the ground. A couple of ceiling tiles had fallen and it slammed the door shut to the hallway. My boss, right before the accident, right before the explosion, had jumped out of his office. You see, he was talking to his wife at the time. And he was facing north. And at our elevation above ground, you could see planes taking off and landing at LaGuardia Airport some 8 miles northeast of us. And he caught this plane coming over the spine of the island, right past as it passed the Empire State Building, making its a beeline right for our building. And he thought, this plane, as he's talking to his wife, this plane's about to hit us. It's going to hit right below us, at us. But he said at the last second, it flew up and hit between 93 and 99. He saw the pilot of this plane, who would have been Mohammed Atta. That's how close we were. I mean, think about it. It's only eight stories above us. So after the explosion occurred, after this lurching had settled, and we tried to figure out what was going on, you have to understand, we had as much electricity as we have right now. Phones worked, computers worked. We had half the office who had gone through the 93 bombing that occurred in the basement of the building. And then we had the other half of the office that probably averaged 24 years old. I was 27 at the time. So people were scrambling, what do we do? My boss said, hey, listen, commercial airliner just hit our plant, hit our building. Well, to me, that went in one ear and out the other. To me, it was like, okay, what is our next step? Do we wait for a public service announcement to tell us what to do? That's what half of the people wanted to do, right? So here's a footprint. Here's a footprint of our floor. This was what our office would have looked like. And so, in the matter of the next 5 minutes, was a very chaotic time. Because, like I said, half the group didn't want to leave, but half the group did. Somebody yelled out, check the door. So I walked up to the door. And like we did when we were 5 years old, right? Feel the door to see if it was hot outside, because I didn't know what was going on. I felt it, it was cool, I opened it. And as I looked outside, I looked into the hallway, it was pitch black, except for this beast. I call it a beast. It was crawling towards me quickly, and I realized very fast what it was. It was a smoke balloon, right? Full of metal and debris and smoke, and you could smell it. So I closed the door quickly because I knew we had good air, just like we have right now in our office. You look outside in the back behind us, and you see debris falling. You still don't know what's going on, except, yeah, a plane hit us, but what's going on? We were concealed. So, I close the door. Somebody says, hey, where's Marvin? One of our colleagues, Marvin Pickram, because he had left like 2 minutes prior to the building getting struck. Somebody said he went to the restroom. So, I filled up a water bottle, and maybe one other colleague did as well, and I made it a point to go open the door again. And this time that smoke beast, right, that was up against the ceiling had dissipated. And I looked out in the hallway, and around the corner I would see maybe a fire or two on the ground, right? And then there's some people like in another office saying, "Hey, is anybody out there? Is everybody? Yeah, come on out. Check it out." And so we walk out into the hallway, and here is, right catty-corner to me is the bathroom, and then to my left, I'm looking down towards our elevator bank, right, to where I would have gone about 5 minutes later, and it was all on fire. I mean, just like metal debris blown up and like the flames, and so I looked into the bathroom, and the bathroom was like in pristine condition, like nothing had happened. Marvin was not in there. You see, Marvin had actually run down that hallway, or something similar to what you see on screen here. And he said, Billy, when the plane hit, and a fireball emanated from our elevator bank, right? And was chasing me. So I tried all these doors, tried like 3 or 4 doors, and finally at the end of the hallway, it was like a law firm or something. He opened the door, got in and closed the door, and as he closed, that fireball singed part of his eyebrows off. That's how close he was. So after I had looked in the restroom, I realized by this point that my entire team was now exiting, right? Going through the emergency exit. And so we started our descent. We're from 85, go down a couple flights. A friend of mine, a colleague of mine, and I break open like we were MacGyver. We break open these fire extinguishers. I've never done that before. It's kind of cool. So we get it out, and we're carrying these 40-pound fire extinguishers, or whatever they were, 20 pounds, for the rest of the way. Eventually we drop them, but we had no reason to pick them up. You see what you see here? This is probably a picture, obviously not from 9/11, but this is how it was. We had electricity. There was light. There was no smoke. There was no fire. There was nothing. There was a false sense of security. Yet we were still in this state of shock and state of survivalist, right? Survival mode. So we're going down. We hit about I'd say about the 74th floor, 75th floor, and remember, I'm in an emergency stairwell with the survival mentality, and I'm going down. All of a sudden, these people are coming back up, and they're exiting. And of course, we say, "Well, what are y'all doing? What's going on?" And they said, "Well, the door down below is pinned shut." So it took me time to figure out what the heck's going on. You see, each of the two towers had 99 elevators. 99. Some locals, right? Some that serviced 1 through 5, 1 through 20, or whatever. And some express like from 1 to 72, and then from like 72 to 99 and whatnot. 99 elevators. So occasionally you'd have to have a mechanical room to hoist those elevators, right? And so as the emergency stairwells sort of, sinusoidally went down, they would hit one of those mechanical rooms, and you'd have to go across a platform like so. And one of those platforms would always have a door. Well, pinned shut, I've given this talk several times, and people are like, wait, pinned shut? So obviously somebody was, there was some conspiracy theory to kill y'all. Well, no. I'm thinking that the fact that the building, this was lurching back and forth, probably pinned the door shut, right? So we exited that stairwell. We exited on that floor, 74, 75, and we found the next stairwell, and that's when it became, like Houston traffic at 5 p.m. It was stop and go the rest of the way. As we're descending in this second and final stairwell for me, there was an influx of people who came in and said, hey, by the way, the other building was hit, right? And for me, again, it went in one ear and out the other. For some, they could think clearly. They're like, we're obviously under attack. Others are like, hey, who won the game last night? It's weird how people think. Your mind works in weird ways. We're trying cell phones, back then the flip phones, and occasionally they would say, you'd get a faint ring, and then it'd try to go through, and then it'd say, service unavailable, try again later. Right? Very frustrating. This is about the time that the second plane hit the second building, and when people came in there, you could feel a new influx of people, a new influx of traffic. As we descend to around the 60th floor, we hit another platform, and I'm carrying the fire extinguisher, and I feel this woman behind me and so I turn around, being the good Texan in me, right? So I turn around, hey, what's going on? You okay? And she's got a white shirt up to her mouth, and like she's holding her shoes, she's barefoot. She's like, I felt like I was in the movie Airplane. I got to get out of here. I've got 3 kids. I have to get out of here. And again, being the good Texan, I gave her a little half hug. It's okay, I got some water for you, right? Because I had a water bottle, right? So she took the water, took a little swig, but she poured it on her white shirt. Now at this point, in the descent around the 60th floor, the only worry of fire or smoke was a thin layer of like white smoke. But again, white smoke, not black smoke. White smoke, hey, things are being put out. This is great. Right? So a false sense of security, but still as much electricity as we have now. This woman thanks me, and I watch her. What was amazing about her is I watched her slowly cut. She just kind of cut her way down in line. And what was amazing was all these New Yorkers, nobody got mad at her. This girl's cutting in front of the line, right? We get down to about the 50th floor. And I've got my Investor's Business Daily, right? So I have all this. By the way, this jacket, just FYI, this jacket is a commemoration jacket to a similar jacket I would have worn as a commodity trader on the floor. On the back of my original would have said SMW, which stood for my company's name, right? So we could easily determine who we're trading with. I'm selling you or I'm buying from you. True open outcry stuff, just like Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd in Trading Places. It was awesome. And so, I've got pockets everywhere, calculators and water bottles, and so I have this new, I'm carrying a 30-pound, 20-pound, whatever the hell, it changes every minute, the fire extinguisher, and then, I've got this Investors Business Daily, and I throw it, on one of the platforms as we turn, and like 2 floors down, I got mad at myself, like I trashed the building. I truly thought that. I was like, oh my God, I just littered. Of course, New Yorkers would have cared less. No, don't get to that one yet. Around the 50th floor, as we're still going down, from above, somebody yells, everybody move to your right. Everybody move to your right. What are you talking about? So you turn around and you look, and here comes this gentleman with a white shirt, and it's like half bloody. Oh. And then he's got a bandage across half his head, and it was bloodied. And he was leading a caravan of like 6, 7, 8 people, all holding on to him as he walked. And everybody moved to the right in the stairwell, right? And allowed them to make passage and make way down so they could get help. And what, again, another amazing situation here is nobody took advantage of the path that we all led for this group. You would have thought these New Yorkers, I'm sorry, I keep killing them, but these New Yorkers would have taken advantage of it. Nobody did. Nobody took advantage of it. Right? It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Around the 49th floor, 45th floor, sorry, I even put it up there, I should read it. Around the 45th floor, we see somebody like this, okay? And it was an amazing sight to see. The first firefighter coming up, wearing 70, 80, 90 pounds of gear on his back, right? Coming up to save us as we're trying to save our little highness, right? To hear him say to us, you're almost there. Just keep going. You've got this. You've got it. Just keep going. Was an amazing sight and sound to see and hear. Because for me, obviously, again, no black smoke, firefighters coming up, immediately you think the rest of the way is safe, right? It deflated this whole sense of anxiety as we were descending. Around the 35th floor, we start to see little triages, like for example, in the stairwell, they would have opened the door to that hallway, and you would have seen maybe some firefighters or EMS attending probably to the guy who walked by me in the the white shirt, bloodied shirt. That happened maybe every 5 or so floors. We get down to about the 19th floor. My colleague Rob and I, we finally ditched the fire extinguisher at this point, because firefighters are here. Why do I need it? So about the 19th floor, we're going down. We're turning around, and then we come across this woman, and she's standing there again this is a new woman with her shoes off, and she's carrying her bag. And we said, "Are you okay?" And she said, I cannot go anymore. I am so tired. I can't move. So Rob took her bag, and he said it had everything and the kitchen sink. She held onto her shoes, and the 3 of us sort of made a caravan the rest of the way. And people would go by us, and we made our leisurely way down, but we made it down. And we got down to the first floor of the building, right? We're still inside the footprint of the building. And you see out into the courtyard. And you see like trees, green trees. And then, there's blue skies. And then you see some gray. And then there's like little fires on the ground or in the trees. And then there's dust and debris. And it's like there's a leg and an arm. And you're like, what is going on? What are we seeing? And then firefighters and Port Authority personnel and police are instead of taking us out into the plaza or out onto the street, they're taking us down the escalator, down further deeper, right? Later we would understand why. Later there was, we had collateral damage. Debris was falling, and unfortunately we had those awful instances of people jumping for their lives. But we didn't know it at the time. We just followed directions here. So they took us down the escalators, and they were going to take us out of the footprint of our building, back into the underground mall, right? And so now the mall that I had just about an hour prior gone through, now half the lights were out. There were puddles on the ground. Why? I have no idea. Some of the sprinklers were still bubbling water. And everybody was very zombie-like, everybody, or cattle-like. We were all following one line, trying to get out, away from the footprints of our building, right? And so, as I made it, we made it into the what I would call like a town square, right? So very open space. Stores on the outside, Gap stores, Banana Republics, all on the outside, and in the center would have been like where the escalators went down to the subway trains and whatnot. So here's my path. So they're taking me from one World Trade Center, past the Gap store, into this town square right here. J. Crew, Creighton, Crabtree and Evelyn, all that stuff. Right past where 2 World Trade Center would have connected to 1, right? Oh, there's my path. I forgot I had this. And so we stopped, the 3 of us, Rob, my colleague, Juliet, as we learned her name later, and I are stopping right around this corner. And she said, Juliet said, I gotta stop, I'm so tired. So here's my magic water bottle again, right? It still has water. So I give her some water, she takes a sip, and as we're standing there, around this corner, right in front of the Gap store, you hear from behind you what sounds like rumbling, right? And then you're hearing people running, and then a few people screaming, and then like one bank of lights, like 1/4 of this underground, flicks off. And then somebody yells, everybody run. And at this point, I realize something's bad, all right? So something bad is happening because the entire underground goes black. I push Juliet into Rob, and they both fall. I dive down into a corner right above a little half wall. And as I'm sitting there, as I'm laying next to this half wall, I ball up into a fetal position and close my eyes, clench my teeth, because the second time that day I thought I was going to die. It was so loud, the tidal wave of fury, this maelstrom was going on underground. I was getting pelted with shards of glass. All I could think about as I was laying there on the ground was the ceiling's coming and it's going to sever me in half. That's what went through my head. And after 10 or 15 seconds of this, you see, what had happened was I was underground when 2 South Tower fell. I didn't know it at the time, right? I was underground and almost got trapped under there. And as I'm laying there, after this incredible amount of noise and action and activity, I open my eyes and I realize I can't see. So I really think I either go blind or I was doing everything so tight, I thought that I had frozen and I didn't open my eyes. So I close them again, and then I open them again, and then I realize I am not dead. I cannot see. It's that pitch black. If you've ever been in a cave of pitch black, that's what it was like. You cannot see, even if you touch your eyes, right? I take my first breath, and all I breathe is shards of soot and debris that goes down and cuts my esophagus or my throat. It's very, very, very choking, right? It was a very choking breath. So I hold my breath for 10, 15, 30 seconds, try to take another breath, and finally it gets better. Finally, I can start to see some light, but it's still dark. I call out for Juliet, and she quickly says, yeah, I'm here. I call out for Rob, and he plays possum. He doesn't say anything, okay? I called out for him for like 4 or 5 times, and he finally said, I'm here, Will. He called me Will. My name is Billy. I go by, William is my real name. But so the 3 of us are alive, and then about that time, coming from around that corner was one firefighter. He had his flashlight pointed at the ground. The sucker was so strong that if you were within 5 or so feet, you could see everything. But if outside of that, you couldn't see anything. It was amazing. And as he came around the corner, he was followed by only 6 or 7 people, right around the corner, right around what we had turned. And so I quickly get up and help Juliet up, and Rob gets up, and the 3 of us, we're now following that same path. And you see, a picture like this This is why I felt like I was going to get severed. I felt it. I could see it. I could hear it. But I didn't. We follow the path that was originally led out. We find this escalator right here, okay, that takes us back up. And we step out into the world. And as we step out, we're stepping into soot that's 6, 7, 8 inches deep, right? It's snowing debris. And it had that eerie calm and quiet, like it's snowing, right? I'm sure everybody's seen it snowing here, right, in Houston? That eerie calm was wild. I had no idea the building had fallen, by the way. I never turned around to look. We would have seen, this is what I would have looked like. This isn't me, but it's what I would have looked like, just covered in debris, right? As we're crossing the street, we see this guy running at us, saying, look for bodies under cars. Look for bodies under cars. Look for bodies under cars? What are you talking about? No idea. He comes and he runs off. And as we cross the street, we continue to see more debris. Not looking for bodies under cars. We don't know what to do. We make our way to right in front of St. Paul's churchyard. And we stop. Juliet, God bless her, she wanted to stop again. So we stopped, and I had, again, my magic water bottle. I still had water, I don't know. But I gave her water. We swished it around in her mouth, spit it out, and all we spit was black, right? And then she's standing there, and it's just me and her right now. Rob is kind of up ahead of us, and she goes, like if this was where the two buildings that we just came from were, she goes, where's my purse? And she starts to take a couple of steps to the complex, and I said, Julia, no, let's go this way. Rob has it. He's got it this way. He's up ahead of us. He's got it. We later catch back up with Rob, and he said, dude, I dropped that thing. Yeah, I didn't have that. So as we made our way, we finally get to a point where there's less and less soot on the ground, there's less and less debris. We still don't know what's going on because I never looked back. Then an AP picture, a photographer takes this picture. And you see, this guy right here, that's Rob. That's my colleague. This guy right here happens to be Jonathan Markowitz. He's the M in SMW Trading Company. And then this guy back here, I promise you I had hair once. This guy back here, that's me. This guy has no idea what he's doing. That's the zombie-like feature. He's going back to the complex. I don't even know. 5 minutes pass after we get out, and we finally find a spot. There's a gentleman in like a Blockbuster, not even a Blockbuster, whatever, Cactus Records. He's like issuing and saying, come in. And we go in, and Juliet sits down on the stairs, and she said, guys, I'm done. But Rob and I were not done. We were like, we're here, I know you don't have any money, so we each give her like $20, give her a kiss on the forehead, and we start on our merry way. And as we're walking on the street, we catch up to a couple of other colleagues of ours, and we're walking on the streets, and probably 5 or 10 minutes later, as we're walking, the streets are lined with people, right? And all in an instant, all together in unison, this unbelievable gasp of air, and we turn around and we look, and there goes our building, pancaking down. And when I saw that, I was like, guys, where's 2? And they said, like South Tower, and they said, man, 2's down. 2 fell. Unbelievable, right? The carnage, the destruction, the death that everybody had to go through that day, the amazing, the mental anguish, right? The physical anguish that some people had to go through. I was lucky. You see, Juliet worked for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, which I think employed about 10,000 people, many of whom worked in both towers and the whole complex. And Juliet tells that there's a group of people, her friends, who were descending in our stairwell, descending when the second tower fell. And they made it out right? Because my building was second. And then there was a group of friends who had gotten out onto the street before 2 fell, so they survived. But there's this group of people right behind us that she went to many funerals on, because they all perished, right behind us. And now we know why. When you look at an overhead view of what was going on, this is where we were. It may be hard to see from where you are, but this is all pixie stick like, poking through, crisscrossing. That's what it would have looked like on the surface. So I give this talk, like I said, almost every year. And the biggest part about it, as you can tell from that one slide about firefighters, is to honor those people, right? I mean, yes, we need to honor the people who died, but there, as we know, is a group of people, many of whom are probably here, or married to people who are in the first responders, who are doing the things that need to be done to save people like me, right? Running into the fire, running into the gunshots, running in to save people. And so as I give this talk to groups like you, and especially the youth, right, to school groups, I want them to know you need to honor the heroes who have been before us, who died for us, and continue to fight for us every single day. And I know that there's the cliche we always say, about 9/11, which is never forget, right? And I love to say always remember. And a lot of people do too. And so I've kind of said, well, you know what? Why don't we just always remember to never forget? And so I leave you with that today. Always remember what you were doing and what you felt and how the world and the community changed, even if it was for a short period of time. The community and the world and this country showed a true flavor for humanity very quickly after 9/11. Always remember that. And never forget what I've told you today. There are a lot of conspiracy theories out there. There was even a webpage developed to debunk what I'm telling you today of me, right? And so I challenge that, because these are people who like to just sit at their computers, on their couches and come up with conspiracy theories so they can get followers and likes and shares and make money. I'm not. I don't do that. I want you to know the facts. Like I said, it's therapeutic for me to tell you. I know from your attention to me today that it's important. And if there's anything that we can learn from this, that's what I want to do, is I want to educate, inform, and inspire people. So I thank you very much for having me today.